The call from the void. The message arrived at Galactic Council headquarters garbled and faint, taking their most sophisticated translation matrices 3 full cycles to decipher. When the meaning finally became clear, the Grand Chamber fell silent. We are dying. Our world is dying. If anyone can hear us, please help. Commander Ilara Reed stood at perfect attention in Admiral Chen's office aboard Earth's orbital command station. Through the viewport behind the Admiral's desk, Earth gleamed, blue and green against the darkness of space, a world that had forged humanity in fire and fury. "At ease, Commander," Admiral Chen said, sliding a holotablet across his desk. "We have a situation." Reed picked up the tablet, scanning the briefing document with practiced efficiency. Her eyes widened slightly as she absorbed the information. "A distress call from an unknown species, sir." "The Morkath," Admiral Chen confirmed, his weathered face giving away nothing. "The Galactic Council detected their signal 2 weeks ago. They sent their standard first contact team, diplomats, scientists, medical personnel." Reed continued reading. "Most of the team returned with severe injuries despite Class 12 environmental suits. The Morkath homeworld makes our worst hellholes look like paradise resorts," Chen said dryly. "The Council classified it as a Class 6 death world, even higher on the scale than Earth." Reed's interest sharpened. Humanity's homeworld was classified as a Class 5 death world by galactic standards, a planet so harsh that most spacefaring species would perish within hours without extensive protection. It had shaped humanity into something the rest of the galaxy found both fascinating and terrifying. The Council voted to send humanitarian aid, Reed noted, still reading. "Standard protocol." "That's their official response." Chen's voice hardened. "Intel suggests something else is happening. The Scythe Coalition has moved a significant fleet into position around the Morkath system." Reed looked up sharply. The Scythe Coalition, an alliance of 3 predatory species that had been testing Earth's borders for decades with probing raids and resource theft. Never enough to justify full military response, but enough to make their intentions clear. "What are my orders, sir?" Admiral Chen activated a holographic display between them. A sleek, midnight black vessel appeared, its lines both elegant and lethal. Reed recognized it immediately, the UES Argent Dawn, humanity's newest stealth destroyer. "You're not leading a humanitarian mission, Commander. You're taking our most advanced warship to find out what the Scythe want with these Morkath, and if necessary, ensure they don't get it." Reed studied the ship specifications scrolling beside the hologram. Experimental stealth systems, adaptive, shielding, weapons platforms that weren't even in the official registry Earth submitted to the Galactic Council. "Crew complement?" she asked. 60. "You'll select them yourself," Chen answered. "I recommend specialists who understand harsh environments, people who know what it means to survive against a world that wants you dead." Reed nodded, already making mental calculations. "Permission to handpick from the extremist division?" "Granted. The Argent Dawn will be ready in 36 hours. Choose wisely, Commander." 3 days later, Commander Reed stood on the bridge of the Argent Dawn as they prepared to depart Earth orbit. Her crew had been selected with meticulous care. Everyone aboard shared one critical trait. They were all born and raised in Earth's most hostile regions. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Commander Vikram Singh, approached with a tablet. "Final. Crew manifest, Commander. All personnel aboard and at stations." Singh had grown up in the reclaimed radiation zones of what was once northern India. His skin bore the characteristic micro-pattern scarring of rad adaptation treatments, and he moved with the careful precision of someone who had learned early that carelessness meant death. "Engineering reports all systems green," said Chief Engineer Dahlia Okafor. Born in the volatile tectonic restoration zones of Western Africa, Okafor understood machines that had to function in environments designed to destroy them. The new stealth drive is purring like a cat in sunlight. Security Chief Mateo Reyes, raised in the hurricane barriers of the Caribbean Reclamation Zone, reported next. "Weapons systems online and verified, Commander. Defense grids at standby." Reed nodded. taking her command chair as the countdown to departure began. On the main view screen, the Argent Dawn floated against the curve of Earth, 300 meters of purpose-built lethality, a predator waiting to be unleashed. Our mission is officially classified as First Contact and Preliminary Aid Assessment, Reed informed her senior staff. The Morcath have requested help with environmental disasters on their world. Singh raised an eyebrow. And unofficially, Commander? Reed touched a control, bringing up the classified briefing. Intelligence believes the Scythe Coalition is testing the Morcath, probing for weaknesses. We need to find out why. The final line of the brief was highlighted in red. Assess military potential and strategic value of Morcath technology. Priority: prevent Scythe acquisition by any means necessary. The Argent Dawn is faster than any Scythe vessel, Reed continued. We'll reach the Morcath homeworld 3 days before the Council's aid ship arrives. That gives us time to assess the situation. And if the Scythe are already there? Reyes asked. Reed's expression hardened. Then we find out what they're up to and stop it. An hour later, the Argent Dawn broke Earth's orbit and headed for the jump point that would take it beyond Council space. Reed stood on the bridge, watching her homeworld shrink behind them. From space, Earth looked peaceful, its dangers hidden beneath swirling cloud patterns and blue oceans. What kind of world had produced the Morcath? What kind of people evolved on a planet even harsher than Earth? And what did the Scythe want with them? As the Argent Dawn reached the jump point, Reed gave the order. Take us through. The stars stretched and blurred as the jump drive engaged. The ship passed through folded space, emerging in the darkness between stars. Ahead lay unknown territory, and a meeting with a species forged in an even hotter fire than humanity's. Back on Earth, Admiral Chen watched on a secure channel as the Argent Dawn disappeared from sensors. Good luck, Commander, he murmured. The Morcath asked for help. Show them what humans can really do. The Galactic Council had promised the Morcath they would send aid. Humanity had sent something more valuable. Strength forged in the same kind. Of crucible. 4 days later, the Argent Dawn dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Morcath system. Commander Reed stood on the bridge, her focus absolute. All systems dark, she ordered. Passive sensors only. The Argent Dawn's stealth systems engaged fully, rendering it virtually invisible to conventional detection methods. Its hull absorbed scanning waves instead of reflecting them, and its engines ran silent, releasing no heat or radiation signatures. Scan the system, Reed commanded. Let's see what we're dealing with before we announce ourselves. Lieutenant Zhu at the sensor station worked quietly. The bridge silent except for the soft beeping of instrumentation. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, each person executing their tasks with precision. Commander, Zhu called after several minutes, you need to see this. Reed moved to the sensor display, which showed a star system with 11 planets. The 4th planet was highlighted in red, the Morcath homeworld. Around it, in a precise geometric formation, 18 Scythe vessels maintained position. That's a blockade, Singh observed, his voice tight. Not an invasion fleet, Reyes added. Just enough ships to isolate the planet. Commander, Okafor's voice came through the comms. I'm picking up unusual energy signatures from the surface. Multiple locations show radiation patterns consistent with weapons impacts. Reed's expression darkened. They're bombing them. Negative, Okafor replied. The pattern is strange. Isolated impacts at different locations, spread over what appears to be weeks, not a systematic attack. They're testing them, Reyes said grimly. Hit them with one weapon type, see how they respond, then try something else. Standard Scythe tactics for assessing a potential threat. Reed processed this information quickly. The Scythe weren't just observing the Morcath, they were studying them, probing for weaknesses. Communications, any transmissions from the surface? The communications officer adjusted his equipment. The distress signal is still active but weaker than expected. Something's interfering with it. Reed made her decision. Plot a course through the blockade. We need to reach that planet. Commander, Singh said quietly. That's a direct violation of Scythe-controlled space. If they detect us, Reed began. Then we'll deal with it, Reed interrupted firmly. Our orders are to find out what's happening here and protect the Morketh if needed. Right now it looks like they need protection. The Argent Dawn moved silently through space, its stealth systems at maximum power. On the view screen, the Scythe vessels grew larger as they approached, bulky, angular ships that resembled predatory insects. Maintaining silent running, the helmsman reported. Course set to pass between the 5th and 6th vessels in their formation. Reed felt the tension on the bridge but kept her expression neutral. If the Scythe detected them now, they would be outnumbered 18-1. Commander, Okafor called from engineering. I'm getting clearer readings on the planet. The Morkath cities appear to be primarily subterranean. Makes sense, Reed nodded. With surface conditions like that, you'd want protection. There's something else, Okafor continued. I'm detecting a massive impact crater in the equatorial region. It's still radiating. Whatever hit them wasn't natural. How recent? Within the last 24 hours, based on radiation patterns. Reed exchanged looks with Singh. That matched what Reyes had suggested, systematic testing. As the Argent Dawn slipped between two Scythe vessels, the bridge crew held their breath. The enemy ships were less than 3 kilometers away on either side, close enough to see details of their weapon ports and communication arrays. We're clear, the helmsman announced after several tense minutes. Approaching the planet now. Reed was about to acknowledge when the communications officer straightened suddenly. Commander, I'm receiving a direct transmission from the surface. Reed blinked in surprise. No one should have been able to detect the Argent Dawn, especially not from a planetary surface. Put it through, she ordered. A voice crackled through the bridge speakers, harsh and strange, clearly not human, but the words came through in translated English. Unidentified vessel. Identify yourself. If you are council support, be advised. This was not a natural disaster as reported. We are under deliberate attack. They are testing our defenses. The transmission cut off abruptly. Can you get them back? Reed asked. The communications officer shook his head. Signal lost. They detected us despite our stealth systems, Singh noted, impressed and concerned. If they can see us, Reyes added, the Scythe might be able to as well. Reed considered her options. What had seemed like a humanitarian mission had just become considerably more complicated. The Morkath were clearly under systematic attack, and somehow they possessed technology advanced enough to detect a vessel that should have been invisible. Take us into orbit, Reed ordered. Maintain minimum emissions profile, but I want continuous scans of the surface. Find me a safe landing zone near the transmission source. As the Argent Dawn entered orbit around the Morkath homeworld, the crew got their first clear view of the planet. It was a nightmarish landscape of jagged mountains and deep canyons, with massive storm systems covering entire continents. In the night areas, they could see the glow of volcanic activity. The atmosphere readings showed a toxic cocktail of gases and suspended particles that would corrode standard materials within hours. It makes Earth look like a paradise, Singh murmured, staring at the view screen. And yet they survived, Reed replied. Just like we did. Suddenly the sensor display lit up with warnings. Commander, Ju called out. Scythe vessels breaking formation, 3 ships moving to intercept. They've spotted us, Singh confirmed. Reed nodded calmly. Good, let them come. She pressed the ship-wide communication button. All hands battle stations prepare for combat and planetary landing operations. The Argent Dawn transformed from a silent ghost to a predator, its weapon systems powering up and shields activating. On the view screen, Reed could see the 3 Scythe ships approaching, their own weapons glowing as they prepared to fire. Commander, the communications officer called. I'm receiving another transmission from the surface. Put it through. The same harsh voice came through, clearer this time. Unknown vessel, this is War Master Karak of the Morkath Defense Force. We have detected Scythe vessels moving toward your position. Are you in need of assistance? Reed couldn't help but smile at the irony. They had come to help the Morcath, and now the Morcath were offering to help them. "This is Commander Alara Reed of the United Earth ship Argent Dawn," she responded. "We received your distress call. We're here to help." There was a pause before the Morcath commander replied. "Earth? You are not from the Galactic Council?" "No, we're here on our own initiative." Another pause. "The Scythe attacks began shortly after our contact with the Council. They bomb us, then observe our responses. They are testing us, Commander Reed." "We noticed," Reed replied grimly. "We're coming down to your position. Can you provide landing coordinates?" "Yes," Karak said. "But be warned, our atmosphere is highly toxic to most species. The Council representatives required full environmental chambers to survive here." Reed looked at Singh, who was checking the atmospheric readings. He nodded confidently. "Our environmental systems can handle it," Reed told the Morcath commander. "We come from a world that's considered harsh by galactic standards." "A death world?" Karak asked, surprise evident even through the translation. "Yes. Earth is classified as a Class 5 death world." There was a long silence before Karak responded. "Then perhaps you will understand us better than the Council does. I am sending landing coordinates now. We will prepare for your arrival." As the coordinates came through, the tactical display showed the Scythe ships closing fast. "They'll be in weapons range in 2 minutes," Reyes reported. Reed made her decision. "Change of plans. We're not here for humanitarian aid anymore. We're preventing an extinction event." She turned to her officers. "Weapons free. Show the Scythe what happens when they pick on another Death World species." The Argent Dawn turned to face the approaching Scythe ships. Its stealth systems deactivated, weapons ports open. It was no longer hiding. On the bridge, Reed stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the enemy approach. "Send a message to the Scythe ships," she ordered. "Tell them that the Morcath planet is now under Earth's protection. Any hostile action will be met with immediate and overwhelming force." The Argent Dawn's message was simple and direct, just like the ship itself. It wasn't a diplomatic vessel or a relief ship. It was a warship built by humans who understood that sometimes survival required strength. The Galactic Council had sent observers and promises. Earth had sent what the Morcath actually needed, a ship built to fight. Forged in fire, the 3 Scythe vessels halted their approach when the Argent Dawn revealed itself. For several tense moments, both sides held position, weapons ready. The silence on the bridge was absolute as Reed watched the tactical display, calculating odds and options. Without warning or explanation, the Scythe ships abruptly pivoted and rejoined the blockade formation. "They're backing off," Singh said. "Surprised for now," Reed replied, her expression unchanged. "They're reporting back to their command. We haven't seen the last of them." She turned to communications. "Send a message to War Master Karak. Tell him we're coming down." 15 minutes later, the Argent Dawn descended through the toxic atmosphere of the Morcath homeworld. The ship shuddered as acid rain pelted its hull and hurricane-force winds battered it from all sides. Lightning strikes hit the shields repeatedly, each flash briefly illuminating the bridge. "Environmental readings are off the charts," Okafor reported, from engineering. The atmospheric acid content would eat through standard hull materials in hours. Radiation levels from the surface are 3 times what we'd consider safe on Earth. "And they call this home," Singh muttered. "Not on the surface," Reed said, studying the sensor readings. "Look at these tunnel networks. They've built their entire civilization underground." The landing coordinates led them to a massive cavern hidden beneath a mountain range. A huge door, large enough for the Argent Dawn to pass through, opened in the mountainside. Inside was a docking chamber that could accommodate several ships their size. "Take us in," Reed ordered. As the Argent Dawn settled onto the cavern floor, Reed addressed the crew. "Suit up. Level 2 environmental protocols. We don't know exactly what's waiting for us, but remember, these people evolved on this world. What's deadly to most species is normal for them." Reed, Singh, Okafor, and Reyes led the first contact team. Their environmental suits were Earth's finest, designed for the toxic clouds of Venus and the methane lakes of Titan. Even so, the readings, On their helmet displays showed dangerous levels of radiation and corrosive particulates in the air. As they walked down the Argent Dawn's ramp, Reed saw dozens of figures waiting for them. The Morcath stood nearly 8 feet tall, with bodies protected by what appeared to be natural armor plates, a hybrid of insect carapace and reptilian scales. Their skin was a mottled gray-black that would provide perfect camouflage in their world's harsh terrain. Each had 6 limbs, 4 arms ending in hands with opposable digits, and 2 powerful legs. Their heads featured multiple sensory organs that Reed assumed were adapted for navigating their underground environment. One Morcath stepped forward from the others. Unlike the rest, who carried what looked like primitive but clearly effective weapons, this one wore elaborate armor with markings that suggested rank. "I am War Master Karak," the Morcath said, its voice translated by a device at what passed for its throat. "Welcome to Morcath, humans of Earth." Reed removed her helmet, a calculated risk based on the air readings inside the cavern, which showed breathable if uncomfortable conditions. "Commander, Ilara Reed, United Earth Fleet," she said, maintaining perfect composure despite the burning sensation in her lungs. "This is my second-in-command, Lieutenant Commander Singh, Chief Engineer Okafor, and Security Chief Reyes." The Morcath soldiers rumbled among themselves when they saw Reed's face. Karak's compound eyes widened slightly. "You breathe our air," Karak said, surprise evident in his translated voice. "The council representatives required full environmental chambers just to stand where you are now. We come from a similar world," Reed explained. "Earth is also what the council calls a death world." This revelation changed the atmosphere immediately. The Morcath lowered their weapons, and Karak made a gesture that might have been respect. "Then perhaps you truly understand what we face," Karak said. "Follow me. There is much to show you." Karak led them through tunnels large enough for the tall Morcath to walk comfortably. The walls were reinforced with metallic alloys and lined with technology that hummed with power. Smaller tunnels branched off in all directions. "Our ancestors moved underground 8,000 cycles ago," Karak explained as they walked. "The surface grew too dangerous even for us. Down here, we found protection from the storms and radiation." They emerged into a vast chamber where hundreds of Morcath moved about their daily business. The space was illuminated by bioluminescent plants growing along the walls and ceiling. Despite the harsh conditions of their world, the Morcath had built a thriving civilization. "Impressive," Reed said genuinely. "Your people have adapted well." Karak led them to a smaller chamber filled with what Reed recognized as military planning equipment. Holographic displays showed the surface of the planet and the scythe ships in orbit. "3 cycles ago, we developed technology allowing limited space exploration," Karak explained. "Our first probes detected the Galactic Council's presence at the edge of our system. We sent a message, hoping to establish contact with other intelligent species. The War Master activated a display showing the Council diplomatic ship arriving. They sent representatives who could barely survive in our environment, even with their technology. They promised aid, but while they delayed, the Scythe arrived. The display shifted to show the first Scythe ships entering orbit. At first, they simply watched. Then the attacks began. Karak showed recordings of precision strikes against Morcath settlements and defensive positions. Each attack targeted different systems or structures, as if testing responses. "They want something from us," Karak said. "Something they believe is worth studying and testing before they take it." "What could that be?" Singh asked. Karak touched a control, and the final display activated. It showed what appeared to be a massive energy core deep beneath the planet's surface. "Our world is harsh, but it has given us gifts. Beneath our feet lies an element your scientists would call impossibilium, a stable, super-heavy element that produces clean energy when properly harnessed. We have used it to power our civilization for millennia." Reed exchanged glances with Okafor, whose eyes had widened. Stable super-heavy elements were theoretical in human science. The potential applications were revolutionary. "The Scythe detected its energy signature," Karak continued. "Now they test our defenses, studying how to defeat us before they strip." Our world bare. Before Reed could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. A Morcath officer rushed in, speaking rapidly in their native tongue. Karak turned to the humans. The Scythe blockade is moving. All ships are approaching low-orbit positions. They're preparing for a full-scale attack, Reyes said grimly. Reed's decision was immediate. How quickly can your people be evacuated to deeper shelters? We do not run, Karak stated firmly. This is our world. We will defend it. Reed nodded, respecting the response. Then we'll help you fight. The Morcath commander seemed surprised. Your single ship against 18 Scythe vessels? Reed smiled thinly. The Argent Dawn isn't just any ship, War Master. And humans aren't just any species. She activated her comm unit. All personnel return to the ship. Prepare for combat operations. 30 minutes later, the Argent Dawn rose from the Morcath cavern back into the toxic atmosphere. On the bridge, Reed watched as the tactical display showed all 18 Scythe vessels moving into attack formation. They're deploying landing craft, Ju reported. Ground assault incoming. Targeting their troop transports, Reyes confirmed. Reed studied the formation. No, let them land. Target their command vessels instead. Singh looked at her questioningly. The Scythe think they're fighting primitives with limited defensive capabilities, Reed explained. Let's show them they're actually fighting two Deathworld species. The Argent Dawn accelerated toward the Scythe formation, its experimental engines, pushing it to speeds that made it blur on visual sensors. The enemy vessels began firing, but their targeting systems couldn't lock onto the Earthship's erratic approach path. Weapons hot, Reed ordered. Execute attack pattern Hydra. The Argent Dawn's weapon systems came fully online, not just the conventional energy weapons the Scythe would be expecting, but Earth's latest innovations. Quantum-locked missiles that existed in multiple probability states until impact. Phased plasma cannons that bypassed standard shields. Nanite swarms that could disable electronic systems without destroying the ships themselves. The first barrage struck 3 Scythe command vessels simultaneously. Their shields flared and failed under the assault of weapons they had no defense against. Direct hits, Reyes reported with grim satisfaction. 2 command ships disabled, 1 with critical systems failure. The rest are regrouping, Singh added. They're forming a defensive sphere. As expected, Reed nodded. Implement Phase 2. While the Argent Dawn engaged the Scythe fleet in orbit, Morcath warriors were emerging from hidden bunkers across the planet's surface. Despite the toxic atmosphere and radiation, they moved with deadly efficiency toward the landed Scythe forces, who found themselves suddenly fighting an enemy on their home terrain. On the tactical display, Reed could see the Scythe ground forces being systematically cut off and surrounded. The Morcath were using the planet itself as a weapon, leading Scythe troops into acid pits and radiation zones, triggering rock slides, and retreating into tunnel systems too small for the invaders to follow. The Morcath are incredible fighters, Singh observed. They're using everything about their world to their advantage. Just like we would, Reed replied. That's what Deathworld species do. We don't just survive our planets, we master them. The Scythe fleet commander, realizing their ground forces were being decimated, attempted to regroup their ships for orbital bombardment. But the Argent Dawn was already executing the next phase of Reed's plan. Deploy the Ares nodes, she ordered. From the Argent Dawn's launch bays, dozens of small objects ejected into space, each barely larger than a human hand. They scattered throughout the Scythe formation, seemingly random in their distribution. Ares nodes deployed, Okafor confirmed from engineering. Ready on your command. Reed waited until the Scythe ships had fully committed to their new formation. Execute Ares protocol. The tiny nodes activated simultaneously, creating a linked energy field that encompassed the entire Scythe fleet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then every Scythe ship's engines and weapon systems went dark simultaneously. Electromagnetic pulse successful, Okafor reported. Their systems are fried. Estimated recovery time, 20 minutes. More than enough, Reed said. Target their propulsion and weapon systems. Disabled, not destroyed. The Argent Dawn moved methodically through the helpless Scythe fleet, precision strikes crippling their ability to fight or flee without causing catastrophic damage. On the planet below, the Morkath forces were mopping up the last pockets of Scythe resistance. Incoming transmission from the Scythe command vessel, communications reported. On screen, Reed ordered. The view screen showed a Scythe commander, insectoid features contorted in what might have been rage or fear. "This is Fleet Commander Vexenar of the Scythe Coalition," the alien said. "You have committed an act of war against our people." "No," Reed replied calmly. "We defended an innocent species against unprovoked aggression. Your ships fired first. We merely finished what you started. The Morkath and their resources are claimed by the Scythe Coalition." "The Morkath belong to themselves," Reed countered, "and they are now under Earth's protection. You have 10 minutes to gather your surviving forces and leave this system. Any Scythe vessel remaining after that time will be destroyed." The Scythe commander hissed something that didn't translate, then cut the transmission. "You think they'll retreat?" Singh asked quietly. "They have no choice," Reed replied. "We've demonstrated technological superiority they didn't know existed. They'll retreat, report to their high command, and reassess." True to Reed's prediction, the Scythe vessels limped away from the Morkath, homeworld, gathering their surviving landing craft as they went. The Argent Dawn maintained position, weapons locked on the retreating fleet until they jumped out of the system. 6 hours later, Reed stood with War Master Karak in the Morkath central chamber. Around them, Morkath engineers were integrating data from Earth defensive systems with their own technology. "The Scythe will return," Karak said. "Perhaps not soon, but eventually. By then you'll be ready for them," Reed replied. "And you won't be alone." The War Master turned his compound eyes toward her. "The Galactic Council offered words and promises. Earth sent warriors who understand our struggle. Why?" Reed considered her answer carefully. "The Council species evolved on gentle worlds. They never had to fight their own planet for the right to exist. They don't understand what it means to be forged in fire." She looked around at the Morkath civilization, built in defiance of a world that should have made intelligent life impossible. "Humanity recognizes kindred spirits in the Morkath," she continued. "We know what it means to evolve on a world that tries to kill you every day. It creates something different, something stronger." Karak made a gesture of agreement. "The Council fears what they do not understand. They see our worlds and call them death. They see our adaptations and call them dangerous." "They're right to be cautious," Reed acknowledged. "Death world species are dangerous when threatened, but we also understand survival in ways they never will." The communications officer approached Reed. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council vessel. They've just entered the system and are requesting permission to approach." Reed exchanged looks with Karak, who made a sound that the translator rendered as laughter. "Tell them permission granted," Reed said. "I believe the Morkath and humanity have quite a story to share with them." As the Council diplomatic vessel approached the Morkath homeworld, they were greeted by a sight no one had anticipated. An Earth military ship and Morkath defense vessels patrolling side by side, the beginnings of a joint defense force. The Galactic Council had promised aid. Humanity had delivered something far more valuable: recognition, respect, and the beginning of an alliance between species forged in the crucibles of their respective worlds. When the Council representatives stepped onto Morkath soil, protected by their environmental chambers, they found Commander Reed standing beside War Master Karak, breathing the toxic air with only minimal protection. Two Death World species united by their shared understanding that sometimes the greatest gift isn't charity,